scientist by training, an artist in her heart, and a Reiki master in her soul. Born and raised in Lisbon, Portugal, studied and trained in Cape Town, South Africa, and now an entrepreneur, mother of two, and cat lover in Dundee, New Zealand. I have a very special guest on the podcast today, Dr. Fernanda da Silva Tatley, who has a PhD in molecular medical microbiology and is the founder of Azurlis, which is a skincare range that reflects science and soul. Her holistic approach to skin, body, and soul care is an extension of how she sees the world around her. Her mission is to create natural skincare that supports environmentally friendly practices and is rich on those elements of nature that are beneficial to the body, the mind, and the soul. Azurlis philosophy reflects a holistic approach to the skin, the body, and the soul by incorporating Reiki and crystal energy into their scientific approach to skincare. I am so excited, and I'd like to give a massive warm welcome to Dr. Fernanda da Silva Tatley, which I'm thrilled to have on the podcast this week.
How are you? So lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see you too. In morning time in New Zealand, nighttime here in Madrid.
Yes, and are you celebrating St. Patrick's?
Well, it looks like I am. And maybe I am deep down in my heart and soul, but I didn't even realize it because I do love green. And it's not because I'm Irish, even though people say that. But I do love green. It's my favorite color.
Oh, interesting. So I think my favorite color is blue,
Oh, yeah.
but I do wear green, and I wasn't wearing green because of St. Patrick's either. It just happened. I
Isn't
just
it
suddenly,
curious?
yeah, isn't it amazing? You just sort of like you find these things. No, it's incredible. And but I actually think all colors are great. Just one gravitates to the ones that resonate with us because of vibrations or whatever. Yeah, but so lovely to meet you. And oh wow,
You're so
it's
welcome here on the podcast, and I'm
yeah.
so glad that you've taken the time and we've been able to find a time because you're 12 hours ahead. So
I
thank you
know.
so much.
Yeah, so I'm in the future. You're in the past.
Exactly. Hello from the past. And Azurla seems so interesting. I absolutely love the vibe and the feel and the soul-based product that you've created.
Oh, Sarah, thank you for saying it. I actually just have come off a workshop based in the UK. So I've been on camera since about 7 a.m. And
There's no stopping you, Fernanda.
uh it's an interesting time. And it was a very different forum from what you and I are now talking about. This is all about promoting your brand, whether you use, TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest, Google, you name it. And it's quite, I suddenly realized as I was settling into this, listening to people, it's hard. It's a really hard activity to do because, of course, there's huge competition. And the other thing is, everyone wants everything sort of like instantly,
Mhm.
quick, 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 quick fix, quick fix. And the concept I have, it's the other way around. It's like, I don't know, you're probably too young to remember, but a few years ago, I was sort of more like going sort of 80s, 90s. It was more about going into slow food rather than fast food, because we can get a burger or a hot dog or something, quick on the run. And there was a movement to actually say, but enjoy what you eat, slow down. and I'm going that way as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm really going against the wave. And, it's like a salmon going upstream and, the river's going the other way.
Yeah.
And, this morning I really felt, wow, oh, what am I doing here? When you get those moments where you feel, ugh.
It's a bit too much. I know what you mean. I know a little bit overwhelming. And
Mm.
it's like we need to take a step back and pause. But when?
Yes, and it's that very interesting balance of having the courage to pursue what you've set out to do, with not necessarily beating your people over the head with the Bible. I don't mean that at all,
Mm-hmm.
but just to pursue because you think there is a value, there's benefit about what you say, and at the same time, there's noise everywhere because everyone is doing the same thing. And you're shouting, I'm different because of this, I'm different because of this. But are you? And it's yeah, it was funny because in this workshop where I was, I actually really felt, ah, I feel so deflated.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get into a box. In a few years I die. I'll go into a box. Boom.
I know. It's like, what is this really for?
Oh, yes, and why we're doing it in this way. And then, as we've briefly mentioned the other day when we're talking, the world is a crazy world. I mean, what's happening in Europe, what's happening in the Middle East, I'm just being very, very
Mhm.
general so we don't get sucked in by the energy of all these events.
Yeah.
And, we've had wars in the past. We haven't learned anything.
Mm-hmm. Not yet. I know, but it's like a repetitive, vicious circle that keeps
Vicious
happening.
circle. Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
very, very slow. So anyway, that is not the kind of energy that I want to bring here. It was just sort of like it caught me in a sort of sway. Oh my goodness, where are we? Anyway,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know.
but being St. Patrick's Day it should be about fun and folly and
Mm-hmm.
something silly.
Yes.
And we are everything.
It's true. And regarding just going back to Azurelis,
Yeah.
regarding living in a fast-paced world,
Mm.
do you
And I
think
love
that
your cat. I
oh
can
yes,
see the
Salem's here in the background, climbing around, wanting to show her face on the podcast. She says hi.
oh meow.
Regarding a fast-paced life, I suppose, with stress and anxiety, would that have a big effect on our skin?
It does,
Mm-hmm.
significantly does, because um, everything is connected. As you know, we're made up of cells that are grouped into, I suppose, organs, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And our skin is our biggest organ, which protects our internal organs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all very important. People ask me often, which is the most important organ? Well, actually, they're all important. You can't live without any of them. We need them all. But there is communication between all these organs. And one of the most sort of strident um, reasons why what we do to ourselves and how we live
Mm-hmm.
shows in our skin is there's a very big nerve. It's our longest nerve that go from the brain to the gut. That's the vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, and so, yeah, I'll just to stay on point. So anything you think will affect your gut. How your gut is responding to something you've been exposed will feed back to your brain, no question. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one 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 arm of a triad. Then we have our brain, whether a series of sub areas in the brain, like the hypothalamus and the pituitary, sending little messages in response to how we are affected by the environment. And these circulate in our bloodstream, and they touch base with the adrenals and above the kidneys. And
Mm-hmm.
this leads to a production of something called cortisols, which kind of, it's a hormone that makes you feel, on edge. And
Mm-hmm.
it's part of the flight fright response, which is protective, but it's also uncomfortable, and it can cause stress. Now, what most people don't know is that we, as a result of all these events, we are producing cortisol in our skins as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this communication, this triad. Something is happening in our brain, something happening in our gut, something happening in our adrenals, and they're all talking to each other, and our skin is responding. So, what happens? A classical one, this. What happens when you feel um, nervous or embarrassed? You blush.
Mm-hmm.
So, you rush of blood that comes to your skin. Okay, it's not to your skin, but yes, it is, because it's bringing all sorts of molecules to your skin. So if your skin is feeling the overwhelming impact of stress molecules, there will be mechanisms within your cells that kind of just don't work like they would if we were doing a general metabolic, maintenance, run of the mill, what needs to be done. And so, as you stress, you use up certain types of molecules in one way that would normally be used to make sure that your cells work properly. So, it's like the classical example. If you're stressed, you actually need more vitamin C because the immune system needs vitamin C in
Mm-hmm.
order to fight infections, say, for argument's sake. But we need vitamin C to ensure that we have a good protection, good antioxidant clearing molecules that are sort of waste byproducts on our sort of skin cells, whether they are epidermal or dermal or even the hypodermis. So you can totally see when you are in a space of stress, your skin is being deprived of the key because in order to handle the stress, you're being focused on other areas of your body. So it definitely makes a difference. Will that accelerate your heart rate? Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or will you respond by feeling uncomfortable and having some upset stomach, whether it is through nausea or through, just diarrhea or constipation, which is a common one. People feel, oh, I haven't been, and I'm going all the time. That kind of sense. So
Mm-hmm.
totally very important. So it's really important that we think from the top. When you feel tense, like earlier on, as I was saying, I was feeling quite uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just settle down. You don't have to have half an hour meditation. If you can, that's fantastic. But settle down. A few seconds, just center yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So your brain waves become much more methodical. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have a frenzy of noise, methodical. In having a methodical approach, then you're sending waves to parts of your brain, like we're talking about the hypothalamus and the pituitary, and say it's okay. And then, of course, all the conversations with the adrenals and with the gut. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's we're getting back to normal, so it's totally important. Of course, um, that goes along with the fact that what you eat, so your diet, what you
Mm-hmm.
eat, what you drink is important. Because if your gut is not getting the sort of group of nutrients that will be distributed globally to make sure that nourishment is correct at all levels, you're going to lose some mass or you're going to gain some mass, and you're going to feel unhappy. When you feel unhappy, where does it show again? It shows on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, and it can show as well. Often when you say, "Oh, I've been so stressed, my hair is looking crazy," that's another manifestation. Because why? The hair follicles are on your skin, the skin of your scalp. So
Mm-hmm.
if all sorts of things on your skin are not working to being conducive to maintain good metabolism, it will affect the way in which the hair is produced. Even though people say, "Oh, the hair is dead," well, it's not really dead. It's still connected
Yeah.
to a living follicle. When you pull the follicle, it hurts. If it was dead, you wouldn't feel it.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah, so it's everything is connected, but it is up to us. We make the choice of allowing it to bring us down,
Mm-hmm.
or taking a break and making sure that we feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, this is where the concept for looking after skin is important, because it's a barrier,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a big organ protecting all our organs. And because of everything that happens to us, we do need to kind of give it some protection, even if it's just a body moisturizer or a moisturizer that you use on a daily basis. It's very much like you polish your car, because you want the paint in the car to last for longer, so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't oxidize, and then it starts rusting. So it's very much from that approach. But the other thing is, when you look after yourself, because of the myriad of nerves that you have on your skin, the sensation of looking after yourself is in itself encouraging you to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel good, you relax. And when you relax, you look better.
Yeah.
When you look better, you glow. So, why is it so difficult for people to understand this? It's just
Mm-hmm.
weird. Is it better to have uh, such incredibly thick makeup
Mm-hmm.
that you're wasting yourself, like stage makeup? You can understand stage makeup is important because you've got these bright lights to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that everything is covered. But on a daily basis, you need to make sure you protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we age, no question, our skin gets slightly thinner, our cells get slightly flatter, and they do lose that kind of glow, also because the circulation, the blood flow starts changing, and we accumulate fat in different areas where we used to have. Fat is fantastic to give you that glow, but as we age, a repositioning of the fat changes certain medications. Like if you go on steroids,
Mm-hmm.
the redistribution of fat is quite considerable. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we do need to wear some external makeup just to give us a bit of a glow, and there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So people say, "Oh, if you're natural, you don't need it." Um, mm, Sometimes you do. So
Mm-hmm.
protecting your skin, giving it a little bit or a lot of
Mm-hmm.
TLC is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
And I love that. I suppose what you asked is, why is it so difficult for people to understand that? And the thing that came into my head was, it's a matter of time. And people are so busy, they have so many things to do, they're running here, there, and everywhere, and they don't prioritize their self care. And then it deteriorates, and then it's like stress and suffering because we aren't giving ourselves the time that we need for ourselves to find that space to nourish our skin
To
and our
nourish it.
minds.
And exactly, and that is exactly true. And that was one of interesting. That comes back to the original concept of skincare. So in a way, I can say that I use skincare as a vehicle for people to care for themselves.
Yeah.
So not so much because, um, from my point of view, that I was wanting to be a movie star looking person. Not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a certain type of bone structure, certain height, was, and that, I can have lots, well, I
Yeah.
can have lots of cosmetic surgery, but that wasn't at all the point. The
Mm-hmm.
point was to do something that enables me to feel good and,
Mm-hmm.
show to people that everyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, I had the concept with only 9 products, and they were used in slightly different ways, whether you have dry or oily skin. But people did not understand that, and they were very stuck by marketing concepts that dry skin products, oily skin products, um, anti-aging products, you name it. And so I kind of gave in and I expanded my range to comply with the needs of the market, which is sort of an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm going back to my original concept. So I do have quite a lot of products, but at the end of the day, what you've said is absolutely right. You only have 5 minutes here and there because we lead such busy lives. Um, and we don't make anything about saying, hmm, I don't need this busy life. I need some parts of it, but not everything. But we don't stop that. So the concept is really important to grasp, in that make sure that you make that little time in the day, and it should be something in the morning and something in the evening, where you honor yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have masses of time, just use 5 minutes to make sure you're cleansing your skin because you've been out and about. Maybe you have worn some makeup. Cleanse your skin and use some moisturizer or serum that you want, just to give your skin something to feed during the night as you go to sleep, because sleep is very important. And then in the morning, the same thing. You probably don't have to cleanse because you've just been sleeping and you've gone to the shower, and you don't put soap on your face, but just whatever sort of water
Mm-hmm.
using, what with a face cloth. Face cloths are great, and just give yourself that recognition. I'm worthy. I feel great. I've got a fantastic organ. I have a fantastic, precious instrument on
Yeah.
my body to make me look great. And
Yeah.
it's not about looking like a movie star. When I talk about feeling great, is that you're actually overbounding with joy. It doesn't matter what you look like. You could
Mm-hmm.
have a crooked nose, um, a, uh, if you remember the actor Marty Feldman, he had eyes that looked all over the place,
Yeah.
but he was great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not about the classical beauty, but you are great because everyone is beautiful, and
Mm-hmm.
just honor that. So when you go into your busy sort of day, your routine, your scheme, and you're in your pyramid with so much boiling, you still have that recognition. No matter what life throws at me,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll take it one step at a time. And that's important. But it comes with a responsibility. You have to make a choice that you want to do it. And I think what's happening with a lot of the media, social media in particular, is that people are encouraged just to apply, use something quick, 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 not thinking about it. Oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
too busy to think about it. Well, you actually just wasted time saying, I'm too busy to think about it.
Yeah, I know, and there's so many choices. There's so much to choose from. It's difficult to even
It is
choose one
difficult.
thing. So under pressure, you just choose something that may not even suit your skin in the end.
Exactly. And it's the first thing that it grabs you. I need to get a moisturizer. So I'm in the supermarket. Oh, I'll go into the aisle where the personal care products are. Just grab something.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to make See, we need to learn to make choices.
Yeah.
Fortunately, those of us that are in more peaceful scenarios, we can. It's a
Mm-hmm.
different story when you are constrained by belligerent scenarios where you, You don't know, bombs dropping all over the place. You
Yeah.
don't know if there's going to be power. You don't know if there's going to be water. So that's an entirely different ballgame.
Mhm.
But given that we are privileged enough to have a reasonably comfortable living, choose choose to feel good and to appreciate what we have because we might not have it.
Mhm. Exactly. And that's what came into my head when you were saying about 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening to just appreciate our body while
Just
we're
a little bit.
just
Yeah.
just a thanks for being able to walk and to support me and everything, and that little step can lead to another step and another step that will expand our routine.
I'll give you it's actually a bit of a crude example, but it works. When I first started getting into meditation, obviously there's time for your head to adjust, or how do I make time for things? So,
Yes.
um, I'll give you a tip for all of those that want to start and they think this is crazy, but it works.
Hmm.
We all have physiological functions that we need to do in the toilet. And
Hmm.
you have to sit there. You have to be there.
It's
Use
true.
that time.
It's amazing. That is the best advice ever because there's no escaping. Like you can't escape going to
Exactly.
the bathroom. Yeah.
Exactly. You
I
have to.
love that.
It's very crude, but you're really isolated. You close the door
Mhm.
and just give yourself ah, it's just and your body
Mhm.
becomes accustomed to
Mhm.
these little routines. There's a very interesting well, in fact, there's two very interesting authors. One of them is no longer with us, and that's Wayne Dyer. And he's an amazing, amazing writer, counselor, author. And he talked about you need to find the gap, that gap between the thoughts, because we've got this gigantic number of thoughts. He was the one that was describing studies where in the beginning of the um, year 2000, so in 99 and 2000, there were some studies showing that we coped with about 10,000 thoughts per hour.
Mhm.
And more recent research shows it's more like 35,000. So things have increased. So we are bombarded. And he
Mhm.
really was encouraging people to find the gap, to have the little bits of time. But he still went according to a more classical meditation time that took a bit of time during your day. If you have a busy schedule, there's resistance. But there is a young man. His name is James Clear, an American author, and I suppose he's a counselor, even though he's sort of beyond that. The young man, and he says, no, look, just settle down and just do some meditating for 2 minutes. Just it's your time, and your brain
Mhm.
remembers that time. So when you're in your car, don't drive and meditate. That's not a good idea. But
Yeah.
you're getting in your car, and before you turn on the engine,
Mhm.
just give yourself just a few seconds. Okay. So all those seconds
Mhm.
tend to have a cumulative effect. And at the end of the day, if you think about it, a few seconds here and there, in no time you've made 2 or 3 minutes. And what does that do? Actually, that's potentially much more beneficial than having a long period of meditation
Mhm.
because you are providing the sense of rest, the calming of all these thoughts, all the molecules that are, activated, like the cortisol is going through your bloodstream. You're having these moments of calm or quietness over a period of the day. So
Mhm.
in between everything. So you have a balance, up and down and up and down.
Mhm.
So it's not difficult,
Mhm.
but it does take volition,
Mhm.
responsibility.
Mhm.
The world is terrible doing, my work is terrible, my boss is doing something terrible to me. What's your choice?
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. How you respond.
how you respond.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the tools that you use one day are not the appropriate ones for something else.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just feel frustrated. That's
Yeah,
all right.
it's
When
okay.
when it's okay. I look, and that's the other thing. I'm definitely not advocating
Mm-hmm.
become a goody goody two shoes. No, 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 not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or to become an no. We have feelings, we have emotions, we
Mm-hmm.
have thoughts, and sometimes we feel downright outraged about something.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But put everything into context and look after yourself. It's interesting that in doing that, you are providing this calming energy to follow through you. And that definitely goes out laterally
Mm-hmm.
around you.
Yeah.
Um, I know we haven't talked about this now, but we talked before, like Reiki,
Yeah.
the function of
Mm-hmm.
energy healing. There are many forms, but in my case, I became a Reiki master, and I know that this happens when I feel I'm in a sort of an unusual kind of scenario,
Mm-hmm.
and I immediately know that there's this bubble of energy around me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of my colleagues, when I was at university, used to say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. That's all. Um, that's all placebo, and it doesn't work. There's no scientific proof." Yes, I mean, potentially you're right, but many, many civilizations over the thousands of years that man has been more organized, not thinking the original humanoids, but I'm more organized culture,
Mm-hmm.
societies. People have been used some of these techniques, not knowing what they are about, and they work. Is it placebo? Quite likely. Um, but there have been a number of studies where people that are undergoing Reiki treatment or other forms of energy healing treatment have been in a scenario where they are being monitored for heart rate, blood pressure, thoughts, and there is a calming and benefit. Um, so much for being placebo. It may be something we can't quantify. So I can't say, Sarah, because I've had 3 Reiki sessions, or I've given 3 Reiki sessions. The person is now feeling 50% better. It doesn't work like that.
Exactly, exactly. There's
I would
something
say
going
that.
on there in the background.
Yeah. And the other thing is absolutely right, what you've just said. So you have your scenario, like you have your cat,
Mm-hmm.
in and out, and you have people that and naturally you will have a facade, which we all have, and your brain is working behind this facade. Somebody else that could be your neighbor, could be a friend. They're going exactly through the same process. So how you react to a healing form of Reiki, or to some therapeutic component because you've needed a certain medication, is quite different, even though overall there will be a change. But in terms of energy healing, it's very hard to quantify the beneficial change. Um, and to my knowledge, I've never seen anyone sort of complaining, "Oh, you made it worse."
Yeah, never.
No, I
Yes.
don't think so.
No, no,
It's
definitely
more of a case, I don't feel any change. It's okay. And
not.
sometimes we don't feel change
Mhm.
because the changes are also imperceptible. Are
Mhm.
you aware that you blink? You're not.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Very subtle changes can happen without us even realizing.
Without us realizing, exactly, because we're not that in tune with our bodies, and so many of our responses are just so we have no control over them. They just happen. So just being aware being aware of everything that we do.
Mhm.
Everything that we do has a consequence, and goes with skincare as well. So if you're using all these complicated, and I'm saying complicated because sometimes technologically quite sophisticated products, to
Mhm.
ensure that you're targeting a specific molecule deep down to your skin so your skin is fully rejuvenated. Well, strictly speaking, because there's so many layers on your skin, it's actually a little bit difficult to be certain that
Mhm.
even with these sophisticated molecules, you get to the right target. Um, Plus, you would, if you were in a scenario where someone is applying something to you and you can see yourself through a scan, an MRI or something, ultrasound happening while the application is happening. But most of us are not like that. We don't even know how thick is our skin is. You notice that sometimes when you have say if you plucking your eyebrows and you sometimes you think, oh, there's this hair's in the wrong place, and you pull it out and you see the amount of hair on the outside, and then you see the amount of hair that's
The
inside.
root, yeah, it's
You
it's
think, wow.
surprising.
Yeah. And sometimes you pull one and it's so short, so you don't know where um where the exact targeting will be reaching
Exactly.
endpoint. Isn't it better now that we don't have that exact knowledge, um, to protect is okay. If you're having a procedure that is guided under ultrasound, but surely you don't want to do that to skincare. That would be pretty much, for me, that would be skin torture. But anyway, but it's just the recognition. And the other thing is, look, there is, from the time we are born, no question, we are aging. In fact, there's evidence to show, and that's quite interesting, that the the fetus ages in the womb. So what we call the process of growing is part of aging.
Mhm.
The only time that we have an age reversal is when the ovum and the sperm make an egg. At that time, everything is reset to zero. This is
Mhm.
phenomenal.
Mhm.
But from the time then the egg is now multiplying so that more cells are made,
Mhm.
there is aging in that as well. It's just that we don't see it because a baby is beautiful, a toddler is beautiful, a kid is beautiful, teenager beautiful. And when you get your 30s, so beautiful. You get to your 40s, you're beautiful, and then you get to your 50s. Well, you were beautiful, that kind of thing. So there is some aging process, but you are still beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, and it's also something that it's part of the process of life. We here, um, we grow, and then we go back to the ground, to the original molecules.
Mhm.
That goes for trees, and it goes for anything in nature.
Mhm.
Of course, those things that we construct, like a building made of concrete and bricks and metal, they don't age biologically, but they age as well. So
Mhm.
it's the wear and tear.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
different
natural
kind of
process.
wear and tear.
Yeah, it's a natural process of life.
It is.
Mhm.
But the other thing is that, okay, so we'll go and paint the walls of the building, or make sure that we take the mold away, make sure it looks good. So effectively, that's what we're doing with personal care, skin care, with care in our minds. We're just making sure that we're looking um, as healthy as we can to enjoy the way we are. So I might have mentioned this to you before. I don't believe in aging gracefully, because the idea of aging gracefully to me kind of makes me think you just let everything go.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's psychologically very positive. But I believe in aging perfectly, because you're perfect in every moment.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter who you are. You could be 7 or you could be 70. You're perfect. So
Mhm.
you are aging perfectly.
Mhm.
But are you aging? You're just living perfectly. It's just
Yeah.
that at my age, so and I've mentioned to you, I'm 67. So if I
Mhm.
looked like someone who is 25,
Mhm.
something's not quite right.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
But in my head, I probably still think like I was 7.
Yeah.
because because every now and then I want to be naughty or say silly things, just like when we are a kid. So I often say, yes, I'm 67 going on 7. Of course, there's a process of distillation that happens as you age, as you grow, whatever you want to call. But I think that's beautiful. That's really incredible, and it's an honor to know people at different stages of our lives
Mhm.
and to value them. And um, I feel so privileged even when I listen to music, some amazing pieces of music from a tortured cell,
Mhm.
sorry, a tortured soul that is quite incredible. It's Beethoven's music. What an
Mhm.
amazing man.
Yeah.
But he was a very, very difficult man to live with.
Wow.
This
Mhm.
tortured soul, but the
Mhm.
music he puts together,
Mhm.
amazing. I think of another composer. I think of Elgar when he has, a pomp and circumstance, typical Victorian era pomp, amazing. And then you have the cello concerto where there's that agony
Mhm.
of these soldiers dying in the First World War, and it was specially written for the son of one of his friends, um, who died
Beautiful.
in a Pachel Bell. And it's I'm still connected to their souls, even though I don't know them. And
Mhm.
so it's that connection, that recognition you appreciate. But I can hear the music. Isn't it
Mhm.
amazing?
Yeah.
Even at my age,
Yeah.
I can read the words.
And music is timeless, though. I think some music is absolutely timeless. It doesn't
Absolutely.
get old. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have an example of timelessness. So I don't know if you've heard of the German composer Hildegard van Bingen, and she was a mother superior of a convent in sort of what is Germany today
Mhm.
in the medieval ages, I think sort of 13th century.
Mhm.
And she was a very, very astute woman, very clever. She ran the monastery, she wrote poetry, and she wrote music. And her music is one of the pieces of music that luckily was notated, because no musical notation only started about 100 years before Hildegard van Bingen. And so it is still sung in some of the church choirs. It's quite amazing, and you hear this, and you can hear she's really in this very simple
Mhm.
medieval
Mhm.
melody, but
Mhm.
it's got a resonance with something that is quite universal. So
Yeah.
it's
I
quite an
love
amazing.
that. And what a lovely way to calm our nervous systems down as well. Because
Yes,
in an
yes,
indirect way, we can also, it might affect our skin by listening to this music that might help us calm down, get back into the moment, connect with our body.
absolutely. So the other thing that's quite interesting was calming our skin. So there are some very very hard to handle conditions. You hear about people having conditions like psoriasis, and they say, "Oh, it's a skin issue." Actually, evidence is mounting that it is in fact an autoimmune condition.
Hmm.
So the immune system is behaving in ways that um, are not normal, and it sometimes due to some genetic predisposition that leads to these manifestations on the skin. But it's significantly aggravated when you're under stress.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you treat it as a skin only condition without helping the person to handle whatever psychological turmoil is happening, the condition does not improve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very difficult condition. That's a classical example of where everything is connected. Most of us will probably, um, luckily, will have hormone changes which lead to the classical teenage breakouts, and sometimes you can get pregnancy breakouts, sometimes older age breakouts, but they tend to be modulated. They're not really full on difficult conditions to manage. They can be managed one spot at a time, literally. You have very full on conditions that have a basis of a physiological basis because mechanistically something is different in the cells and in the cells in your brain, and controlling your immune system, then you do have a complicated scenario that benefits from healing from a calmness, a position of slow down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
get get into a good habit of good diet, good hydration. But you see what is happening here. There's nothing instant. You you can put something on your skin to cover it up, like really incredible stage makeup, but you take it off, it hasn't gone away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not doing anything for your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, of course, you look at it and you feel terrible because it hasn't. And sometimes it feels quite uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
know, the manifestations there are rather unpleasant. So you can't take the makeup off, assuming you have makeup off the lesion, being blindfolded. You'll continuously look at it, and that visual impact will have an impact in the way in which you think about yourself. Well, this is not good. I have to cover it up. I'm so embarrassed and I feel so uncomfortable and I can't work. I can't do so. So you can hear the
Yeah.
mind going
Mm-hmm.
off kilt.
Yeah. I've been there. I imagine a lot of us have been there in that situation where we've had a
And
bad skin phase. Mm-hmm.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, when it comes to bad skin issue, when
Acne.
you're a teenager and you go, yeah,
Acne.
you don't even have acne, but you have the odd spots,
Yeah.
and you go to a party, you're planning for a party, and you're nervous and excited, and you get a pimple on your nose.
Oh.
I've had those.
Oh yeah. Especially when you're just going through puberty and it's the first
Yes,
few awkward years of
absolutely.
your life.
Awkward is there's a hormone storm going and you're feeling and you want to look your best and your
Mm-hmm.
friends are looking great, so you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, everyone looks great, but you get these thoughts and you get a pimple on your nose, or this horrible, you know
Yeah.
breakout thing that doesn't break out.
I know.
And you cover it up, and it's, yeah. So of course that is hard, because at that stage in your life it's so important to look your best.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be lovely as well to be able to support kids, and sometimes not such young kids, people in general, just to say, look, these things happen. So the quicker you just accept, actually, the easier it goes away. In fact, there's yes, that's an interesting thing. This is, as a scientist, this will sound completely hocus pocus, and oh, okay, let's. I'll say it anyway. So if you get diagnosed with a condition
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to deal, there's a time period to heal. Sometimes things are not going so well. One of the things that you can do to help is to love the condition. Actually be so grateful for having the condition. So you're so excited because you have the condition. So you get a pimple and I'm so excited I have a pimple on my nose.
Yeah.
You are generating a whole lot of what is called endorphins that come from your brain. The endorphins are like our natural opiates. And these endorphins are circulating, they relax you. And in relaxing you, ironically, the condition you are loving does improve. But people will say that is silly. That's so hocus pocus. It's not. Endorphins are known molecules, natural opiates. It's what happened when people that are doing long distance running, you've heard of the runner's high. That's exactly what they hit. Now the brains are producing so many endorphins that people are sort of relaxing into their path.
Amazing.
And they feel better. But it's not an instant thing because the brain needs to get used to producing those things, because in most conditions, whether we live and we work in a very sort of stressed situation, we're always on edge. We've got cortisol being kind of produced all the time to protect us. Fright, flight, fright, flight. But now you are educating your brain to be more conducive to producing endorphins that make you feel good. Oh,
I love that scientific explanation because it makes a lot of sense. You know, we were advised to be grateful and write a gratitude diary because of the endorphins that come out when we
yes,
feel grateful for something. So it makes complete sense.
yeah, but love your condition.
Yeah.
It's very, look, it's very hard. I saw something on TikTok the other day that made me feel, oh, this is sad. So it was a photograph of a young couple. I presume it was Ukraine. It didn't say if it was Ukrainian or Russian, but definitely looked a Slavic couple. Lovely bride, and the young man didn't only had one leg, so he had the crutch, and the trouser had been folded up, so you clearly could see he'd lost a leg. And the comment was that people on TikTok are so eager to like a singer on stage, and they're not liking the fact that these people have the courage to try and get a normal life. So and uh, when I thought about it, I was thinking, imagine you've lost your leg. How can you even position yourself? I love the fact that I've lost my leg. It's not that easy, is it? That's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But you can't get it back. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
This young man was in his late 20s. That's it. He's affected for life. But he was looking, he looked so proud of himself having his bride by his side.
Yeah.
And there he is. He's perfect, but he's lost his leg. But very hard in that scenario. I must admit, very hard in that scenario to love the fact that he doesn't have a leg.
Yeah. I really admired those people who are in a certain circumstance where they've either lost the ability to walk or they have something terminal, and they just get this hope and gratitude and
Yes,
appreciation for the world that's mind blowing.
it is. It is mind blowing. Very inspirational. And it immediately shakes you and makes you think, oh, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And like, very interesting, Sarah, when I came into this podcast, I was telling you of the workshop I was having, which was kind of, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? um with all these ad things that I just can't relate to, and I was feeling kind of low. But even talking to you about what we have been discussing, I feel so much better. My level of energy
Mhm,
has changed,
mhm,
and I can feel it in myself. I can hear it even in my voice.
mhm,
So it works.
mhm.
but we've got to want to do it. And this is where I'm thinking now that picture of that young couple with the young man having lost a leg. And here am I getting all uptight because it's so hard to do these ads on social media. That's nothing.
Well, we all have our own little things, and life can get a little bit too much, relatively speaking, of where whatever we're doing and whatever our circumstances. So it's okay to feel, fed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
And here,
nice to also see that it's not that bad at the same time. And maybe that was why that popped in onto your TikTok screen to help
yes,
you relativize things. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. That put things into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And you're continuously doing that. And it's um even with the skincare issue, this is one thing that I would like people to understand, whether it is about skincare or about anything else. So when I started the company, I really thought that this would be a vehicle of helping myself and helping others to cope with all sorts of things. You look after yourself. It's a kind of self-love. I often say, don't splash your products on. Apply them with gentleness. Make love to your skin. I'm not saying to have sex with your
Yeah.
skin. I'm just saying make love to your skin. So it's very gentle. Respect gliding your hands because it's a very precious organ. But and as I was raised as a young kid, I always was supposed to be, I couldn't be an archaeologist because, that's a hobby, that's not a proper profession. I have to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, the high-end professions. Okay. And that has left a mark in myself, always looking for the purpose, so I have to have a big purpose. And of course, my parents, having come through the Second World War, for them, a really important purpose in life is make lots of money. And so success is measured as wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And with the company, when I launched it, because I was trying to have a much more holistic approach of well-being, um, I had this concept that, well, I think I think I'm going to work it, and I'm giving it all. It's my intention, and I'm putting it together. So all the riches and the wealth will come. But they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been my big lesson in terms of skincare, I'm saying this here for people to understand. It's a lesson for anyone with any activity or any passion that they follow. Just because you have a passion on something, it doesn't mean to say that your success is going to be measured in having a revenue stream that will make you a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of you having started a business is really to serve a role in this earth. It's just somewhere along the line, sometimes you make lots of money, sometimes not. But you certainly get a wealth of incredible, I don't even know what to describe, not so much energy,
Fulfillment.
fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And you reach out in so many ways that you are a billionaire, not monetarily speaking, but in terms of this overwhelming gift that the universe has allowed you to pursue. So, whether you become a doctor, whether you're a street sweeper, um, a carpenter, or a mechanic, a pilot, or a nurse, doesn't matter, because when you give something, and sure, we need money to pay our bills, There are ways in which we receive that we have no idea at all, and we benefit from them. And as long as we recognize, thank you for the little and the big things, your purpose is continuously encouraged. And an example as well is talking to people that run podcasts, talking to the hosts. I can feel straight away when the host has an alignment that is beyond having a piece of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
or having an alignment of a voice
Mm-hmm.
that goes beyond the the recording that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been so inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you and I met the other day, we didn't know each other from a bar of soap, but all sorts of things stacked up in what we
Yes.
said, how we said it,
Mm-hmm.
how we heard it from each other,
Mm-hmm.
because that's important. You might say something, but someone has to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
How we listen to each other. And I think, no, I haven't made millions with my skincare, but I have made millions in so many other ways.
Yes.
And so that's it's a sort of a strange way of talking about fulfillment, because people say, oh, you must be making lots of money. Oh, I'm making lots of things.
Yeah. And that's the conversation I had the other day as well. I do. I'm in the sack. I feel the exact same as you. I honestly feel that I have all the wealth that I could possibly need, but not
Yes,
monetary. It's
yes.
just everything else. It's connection. It's feeling, connected to ourselves. It's having everybody around us close and healthy and happy. And it's everything else. It's not about the money for me anymore.
No, and also, if someone, oh, and the other thing, if someone asks for help, you
Mm-hmm.
genuinely can see whether or not that's real. And yes, sure, I'll help. But also, it makes you more aware of someone doing what I call being a vampire. And with all due respect to vampires, but some people are energy vampires. So they
Mm-hmm.
talk to you, and at the end of the conversation, you feel, oof, my goodness, I feel terrible.
I need a nap.
I need, literally, I need to go and have a rest. For me, it has been the recognition, oh, I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that at all. And sometimes some of the roles in which we find ourselves professionally do have an element of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us to just say, no, no, enough is enough. We don't need to. I'd rather do something that is quite silly, like when one of the things that we do every now and then, because I'm part of a Rotary group, so we'll help out with um, getting, collecting money in the tin for various cancer organizations. And I know some people say, oh, that's so terrible because you're pushing yourself onto people. And I'm saying, no, I'm not. I'm just holding it in. If
Mm-hmm.
you if you want to give. I'm not saying give me money, give me money. But
Yeah.
interesting, on Saturday when I was doing this, it happened several times, and I was absolutely stunned and grateful. People came, and they put in not just coins, they put in paper notes into the tin, and they said, "Look, there are people that are more unfortunate than me. I give because I can. So
Yeah.
thank you for standing here to collect our money." And it wasn't one, it was several people, and on one of them, this person gave quite an enormous amount of money. I said, "Oh, do you mind if I give you a hug?"
Oh, that's lovely.
And then I thought, oops, probably this is not very PC. I don't know the person from a bar of soap, and maybe someone will complain to the collection service that
I
one of the collectors is giving people.
But if it felt good and it was a mutual feeling and you both felt good, I'm sure
Yeah,
it was called for. You
yeah,
felt that it was
no.
the right thing
I
to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But it, to me, it was the idea. Oh my goodness, am I not so lucky to be able to shake a tin to
Yeah.
collect money from people who are willing, not asking, they're willing, and for
Mhm.
them to say there are others that are more unfortunate than me. There was one person who said, "I've had cancer. I know what it's like. Oh,
Mhm.
then you can have my money." And I
Yeah.
thought, thank you. Thank you. So it's those kinds of little gifts. They're priceless. How do you quantify that?
Exactly. It's the moments that matter the most. Hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing, people say, oh, but we still have to eat, we have to pay the rent. That's true, so there's a balance
Of
in
course.
life. But we can do things to make our lives more comfortable. So if my income is of a certain level and I go and choose to live in a five-star hotel penthouse suite, that comes with a price that I'm obviously not going to be able to afford.
Hmm.
So that's not responsible.
Yeah.
Even if it's a dream, oh, I'd love to live in a, penthouse suite of the seven-star hotel in town X.
Hmm. But isn't
No.
it lovely that I suppose, when we kind of give a hand and help out other people for different causes, even if it's our neighbor or even if it's somebody helping somebody
Yeah,
on the street, that also releases, I can imagine that it releases endorphins. I'm not the
endorphins.
scientist, you are. And it's
Yeah,
also another
definitely.
kind of indirect way of calming down our nervous system and, becoming more grateful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. More grateful, more you become more settled. It's a form of, I suppose it's a form of contentment
Hmm.
that you are you you're not advertising that, like, oh yeah, I'm giving money to so and so, I've given $10,000 here. No, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that at all.
Oh,
But
no.
it's a form of contentment that you do something that has made you feel good and someone appreciates it because they needed it.
Yeah.
So, isn't that part of our purpose? Our purpose, regardless of your profession is what you've studied to be or what you've trained.
Hmm.
But your purpose is really to encourage others to feel good. Isn't
Hmm.
that right?
Yeah. Hmm. And it's a kind of a win-win in a way. They
Yes.
feel good, we both feel good, everybody feels good, and then that expands and that spreads out, and people, do other nice things for other people then, and they see what they might like to do because of what you've done. Hmm.
And also, it's not about having, this is not a transactional approach. It's
No, no,
not
no.
like,
Hmm.
do you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like, okay, Sarah, I'll do this for you, you do this for me. It's
Of
not
course.
that at all.
Yeah.
It's very much, I'll do something for you, you'll do something for somebody else, and so it
Exactly.
goes. It's sort of, that's what happens. But
Hmm.
it saddens me. This is something that I'd love, because there are so many people in the world that are aligned to this, and we haven't nailed this yet. It saddens me that when it comes to leadership, say at a country level, that there is such a need to have a quid pro quo approach.
Hmm.
Um, and that people take a stance saying, well, I don't like your approach or I don't talk to you. Actually, because I don't like your approach, this is why I should talk to you. Tell me what you want to say and what you want to do. Just peel the layers
Hmm.
and listen. We don't have to like each other. I
Hmm.
totally get it. But let's listen. And we might find that there is something in both people that resonates and we can agree um, to do something about whatever the issue is without having to fight, without having to have awful words, without having to hate each other. We don't have to love each other if we don't like each other,
Hmm.
but let's at least hear each other. Okay, given that, we do it.
Mhm.
A point in case of something like this, very well known, very publicized, was the relationship between Mandela and F.W. de Klerk. So F.W. de Klerk was the South African prime minister that was in power when he decided, look, let's just stop this. We're going to have to stop apartheid because there's just too many things left, right, and center. So Mandela and F.W. de Klerk met a number of times, and they were awarded the Nobel Prize of Peace for what they did for South Africa. They didn't agree with each other, but they never stopped being civil to each other.
Mhm.
It's documented in both books that both wrote.
Yeah.
And there were times when I think the conversations weren't easy because there was too much baggage from both sides. But isn't that incredible?
Mhm.
If it were up to them, it got complicated because other people got in the way with their egotistical premises. But those two people, one that stayed in prison for 27 years,
Mhm.
and the other one that was the oppressor for 30 odd years,
Mhm.
coming to the realization that, hmm, we think differently, but neither extreme is right. We
Mhm.
need to come to this position where people are treated as people, not as whites or blacks,
Mhm.
with or without vote. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, totally.
That takes an enormous amount of courage. And I
Mhm.
just wish that more opportunities presented. Those two, out of the blue. Look, when I was in South Africa, I thought that F.W. de Klerk was quite conservative. And when he came out with that, it was like pulling the carpet under my feet. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
But obviously, the cogs in his brain
Mhm.
must have been going for some time.
Mhm.
But he had the courage to say, enough's enough.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
We don't need to keep this man in prison for any longer. I mean, he could have been released earlier, but he, yeah,
Yeah.
but they worked together. And
In the end. Mhm.
in the end, not they didn't become, I don't think they became friends, but they, no, I don't. But that's all right.
Yeah.
We talked, and I think this is what we need in the world order. Let's just talk. Let's just voice what we say, but be honest.
Mhm.
So that our purpose is really help each other.
Yeah.
You understand that we all want the same thing. It's just some people sometimes are a little bit annoying. Okay.
Yeah, I know. And it's like us kindly asking our egos and maybe our generational trauma to just step aside for a little bit
A little bit.
while we get things into perspective and maybe, reach an agreement. Because at the end of the day, isn't unity our objective?
Yes. And I mean, with you coming from Ireland, of course, in Ireland, in
Mhm.
Northern Ireland,
Mhm.
very painful conflict, which, by the way, I lived through as a kid because I remember from the age of about 6 or 7, it was always the Northern Ireland
Yeah.
issue. And right until the time when things got um, more settled. But oh yes, and as a young girl, I remember Bernadette Devlin all the time. For her, she was such a character. Oh, she's a girl, and she's spiking up the system. So for me in Portugal, a girl can actually do things. Not everything that she did was right, but it was inspiring to
Yeah.
see that she had the guts, the
Yeah.
courage to do things. And of course, there are people still today that feel a little bit
Mhm.
aggro one way or the other. Oh,
Mhm.
hello, Pussy. Oh,
Say
hello,
hello. She's just coming to say hi.
hello. Um, but it's important that people recognize, yes, there's still aggravation and still pain, but at least we don't have the killing, because
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, families,
Mm-hmm.
friends, streets,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah,
not that, you know, what did it serve?
I know.
People that's because of one system versus another. And then, of course, then there's legal punishments, and you think, oh my goodness, why are we getting into this? So
Mm-hmm.
we should step back. Yes, we need civility, we need order, we need to voice our voices, sometimes a little bit more loud than others, but
Mm-hmm.
respectfully.
Yeah, exactly. Respectfully, with, a heart goal in mind that hopefully
It
aligns with.
is a hard goal, and because, and that goes straight to what you so focused on, because you feel your heart is beating as a normal pace. You're breathing more
Mm-hmm.
slowly. You're not breathing on your shoulders, like you're not panting.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually breathing deeply.
Mm-hmm.
That has an incredible impact on our smooth muscle system. So everything relaxes.
Mm-hmm.
And these messages of relaxation permeates through our body, so our nervous system ceases to fire up like a sparkler. I know sometimes you need to sparkle, for fun, but you don't want to continuously sparkle because, that's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can discern and talk and think and make decisions that are beneficial for you and for others. No brainer. So
Mm-hmm.
if it is so giving someone a gift, applying skincare, having a kind word to someone, I think I've mentioned this to you before as well. One of the things I think it's so important is to, yes, honesty is important, but sometimes honesty can be cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably have come across the scenario where a friend of yours is having a bit of a sort of a yucky day and she looks tired. The worst thing you can do is to say, "Oh, Mary, you look so tired today," because how is Mary going to feel more tired?
Not the best. Yeah.
Exactly. You've just told her she's tired. So, that's what she received. So, when you come across someone who is feeling just, something's not quite right, they may not even manifest it, but you sense, you just, "Hi, Mary. Things going. Oh, you look fantastic today."
Mm-hmm.
And the person laughs or smiles. "Oh, really? I wasn't feeling that good." "Oh, but you do. Oh, you hide it well. You're feeling good." The person feels good. You feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives a space for something to be handled rather than going to someone and pointing out the half empty part of the glass.
Yeah.
Doesn't help anyone.
No, you're
Because
so
if
right.
it's empty, it's empty. We know that. So we've got to top it up.
Yeah,
Simple.
exactly.
And the same thing with skin. Why I talk about helping spots one spot at a time. I have a podcast I have an article that I haven't published on my website yet because it's just been sort of manic in the last few weeks. But this is about helping people not to deal with lots of breakouts, but one spot at a time. And there is something very easy to do, which is to use, like the hand sanitizers that we've got so
Mhm.
familiar with in COVID time.
Yeah.
We put a little bit of the hand sanitizer on a cotton bud and
Mm-hmm.
just go on top of that spot, one spot at a time, and we dab it on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't spread it all over your face because, of course,
Mm-hmm.
it's a hand sanitizer, so it will contain a number of chemical
Mm-hmm.
substances that tend to dry the skin, which is fine for your hands because you want to have dry hands so you're not conveying all sorts of pathogens, you're not transmitting them, so you want your hands dry. But for your skin, you just put one spot at a time, and then you wait. And in 24 hours' time, you do it again. And you'll know within 2 days, 48 hours, the spots receded. But you'd have to do it just one spot at a time. So if
Mm-hmm.
you have 3 or 4 spots in the same place, you use a separate cotton bud head for each spot, because otherwise you'll be contaminating.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to do
And
it one spot at
it's
a time so it doesn't expand more.
expand just one spot at a time, turn the cotton bud upside down, use another one, and then throw it away, and so it goes. And you
Mhm,
will see that will help a lot. If you have profusive acne, that's a different story. And
mhm,
that is because normally when people have quite intense active, they need to go through a process of medicated regimes. And I'm
mhm.
not even talking about the medications, because I don't want people to say, oh, that person on the podcast said I should go on to. No, no, no. You go and see a doctor, medical professional, a
Yeah.
dermatologist, and the person will know what to prescribe. But
Mhm,
to sort out a spot here and there, you can use simple things
mhm,
just to help. So you can do a
mhm,
simple thing, you can do big things. You
mhm,
can simplify your life. You can make your life very a very contented life,
mhm,
because you are perfect, because you are great, and because you've made a point of
mhm.
recognizing it.
Yeah, and I love that because one of your mottos aligns perfectly with that. You aren't selling skincare, you're selling care for your skin on a holistic level, from within
Yeah,
and without, in the way
yeah.
that you live, you know. Hmm.
The way that you think,
Hmm.
the way that you treat others. So
Hmm.
it's because we're all connected. It's very much about the Gaia concept. We are connected. The universe is this organism. It's quite interesting. We, as you know,
Hmm.
I can see you. You can see me, because we dense matter.
Hmm.
But we also waveform. We
Hmm.
also light. We also energy. But we might not be able to see that. Not everyone does. Like I've mentioned to you, I can see auras,
Hmm.
but I can only see them
Hmm.
when I close my eyes.
Oh, wow.
I can't see them with my eyes open.
Amazing. Hmm.
And yours pink.
Really? Is my aura
Yeah,
pink?
you're a pink, rose pink.
Hmm. That's curious. Hmm.
It is curious because that is the heart chakra.
Hmm. Yeah, I can feel my heart open now. I can feel I'm definitely in my heart space right now at the moment.
Very interesting. And so that in terms of heart, in terms of chakras and chakra colors, the heart chakra can be pink or green. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
So, and it's the green you're wearing is very resonant with the green,
Hmm.
very resonant with the heart chakra. And the pink, it's an unusual, it's not a shocking pink. It's this type of pink.
Oh, yeah. Like a rosy.
It's a rose, like yeah, it's a rosy.
Hmm. I know what you mean. It's like a stone
Um,
pink. A stone pink.
it's, it's a stone pink, yes.
Hmm.
So it's not baby pink, and it's not like rose shocking. It's not like the shocking pink of
Hmm.
this. It's not that kind of pink.
Yeah.
It's I
Pastel
suppose
pink. Pastel.
yes, pastel. It's that blush pink. When
Mhm.
you have that swash on watercolors and you put pink, it's that pink.
Yeah.
So the green is brighter than the pink.
Hmm. Hmm.
So and you're a pink.
Well, thank you for that. It's lovely to know. And regarding going back to talking about energy and the fact that you're also a Reiki master and
Mhm.
talking about us all being connected through energy and helping us feel better, it's all connected, like you were saying,
Mhm.
and it makes complete sense that even though we are 3D dense
Yes.
matter, the energy that we're all made of, really really deep down from to the bottom to the actual smallest cell, we're all really energetic beings.
Well, and with the energy as well. So we all tend to think of cells, and then cells are made of molecules, and molecules are made of atoms, and the atoms are made of electrons and protons, as well as many other subdividing particles. And of course, we've all heard of the God particle, the boson particle, boson Higgs particle. Um, but what is, probably the most physically quantifiable particle, that is the smallest, is the quark, sort of tiny little things inside the nucleus uh, of a particle. What always amazes me is that we can't sense any of this. This is, and the universe is expanding. So the physicists tell us, I'm not very good with those astronomical matters. I just love the pictures that they show us, because they're able to enhance how stars are born, and planets, and all sorts of comets, you name it. But I look at all these images, and they sort of gases, and so they're particulate, but they waveform, and we're part of that. At some point in our Earth, the conditions were right for these coacervates of amino acids to come together to make living cells. But what is interesting, and this always fascinated me, when you connect with someone really well, and you know that this is not an egotistical connection, it's a connection that is a purely energetic connection, you can communicate across the seas, literally, so across the universe.
Yeah.
And so in Reiki, the reason why I'm telling you, in Reiki, there's a very good practical application of this, which people say, placebo. Okay, fine. So if you need to send someone some healing, because, and I have friends asking me, oh, I feel unhappy about this, and something else happened. And right now I have a friend in South Africa who is not well. Um, so I sit and I make a connection with this person. I have something that is of theirs in some way. It can be a photograph, or can be an item that you've given each other. And that sits in my hands. And I see that person, and I send Reiki. So there's a number of ways in which you can do it. You train to do this, because you've got to make sure you've in the right zone, literally. But the funny thing is, I don't tell people when I do it on purpose. And there are times when I hear someone saying, "Oh, you know, on that day, I felt so good about XYZ," and I said, "Okay, well, that actually is confirmation for me that it worked." So I purposely don't tell people, because you don't want to have a bias,
Yeah.
and it's just flowing. So really important to understand Reiki at a distance works. Reiki at a distance, and Reiki in general, because often people ask me as well, but how do you Reiki the products? Well, you can Reiki anything. You can Reiki your cat. And by the way, cats love Reiki. When I was doing Reiki sessions, our cats, they always used to come and sit by the table, by the Reiki table. They're quite sensitive creatures. They really see and feel things in different ways. So whatever was happening was being picked up by the feline energy. And even if you think that it does not work, it's not as if it's not a religion, it's not a faith, it's a and it's not my energy by any means. It's the earth's energy, the universe energy just flows through us. We can all do it. I'm not special for being a Reiki master. You can be a Reiki master. You just learn to do the process to activate certain things. We can all do it. We don't need to be an Einstein to do it. Even Einstein could do it.
Yeah. It's all
But
about intention. The right
intention,
intention
the
with the
right
right
intention.
heart space and focusing on the person, with the right intention to receive, anybody can do it. Hmm.
And the other thing is, so you can't give it if people can't receive it.
Oh,
If
of
people
course.
don't want it, that's part of the respect. If
Yes, of
someone
course.
said, "Oh no, no, no," okay, right. But
Yeah.
if someone next door to them is feeling that, "Oh, I'd love to feel what it's like," that's okay.
Hmm.
So people cannot be negatively affected. It's not like you cannot put a spell on people, if you see what I mean. that,
Yes.
that is not right.
Yeah.
No, no,
But there's
it's
always
not a
going
spell.
there will always be permission from their higher selves as well, I think.
Exactly, exactly. And you sense that. And
Hmm.
if you sense that it's not there,
Hmm.
it's your recognition, responsibility. Maybe in time they'll have it, but not now.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm. And a part of the intention would be only for their highest good, of course.
For the highest good. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a very interesting movie. It's a puppet movie which dates back to the 80s. It's called The Dark Crystal. Don't know if you've ever seen it.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
um, Dark Crystal. So I check it out on Wikipedia. It's very well described. So the story is that there used to be a civilization that had a crystal, a good crystal, and that had this amazing energy. And there's something traumatic that happens in the crystal. There's conflict, and the evil side of that society takes over. And it's interesting in this instance, which I thought was funny, the evil creatures are kind of vulture like, although vultures are very important in nature, so they're not evil. Vultures clean up our environment, but it's just
Yeah.
the image, a vulture. And there are these little people that are kind of like little gnomes, but they, yes, little people and their kids, and two little kids, Jean and Ika, I think. They find a shard in the forest, and they recognize the way it is pulsating that this this is the shard. This is the missing shard of the dark crystal. So their quests, and of course there's evil stuff all over the place. Their quest is to escape the evil and take the shard to the elders. The elders will know what to do. The elders haven't done anything for a long time
Mhm.
because they've been frozen by the evil side. They eventually, with trouble and tribulation, they reach the elders, and the chief elders has a staff, and he hears the story from the young kids, and he knows exactly what this is, and he knows it's time to do something. And so they need to be brave enough, as old as they are, to fight the evil vultures. And so he puts his staff, and I remember that incredibly in this movie. He beats the staff down, and all he says is he beats the staff and say, "It is time." And everyone gathers the energy, whatever their might is, to go and abolish these evil creatures so that the shard can be replaced into the dark crystal,
Mhm.
which once is now light because it's no longer broken. But it's, with all the things happening in our world and for thousands of years, I always feel that that concept of the dark crystal, we can't do it obviously in a global stage but we
Mhm.
probably can do it in small stages in every community. So
Mhm.
if we can do a little bit of repair for the higher good in small amounts, um, it's quite comforting.
Mhm.
So it is time. And for me, it was really the time of um, when I sort of clicked that, oh, with competing with all these companies on skincare, it's just silly. It is time to just say it like it is, speak my heart, because I have so much. So it is time to share. And I always attribute that funny cartoon movie, puppet movie,
Yeah,
as an inspiration to move forward.
yeah.
Very, very mystical, completely unreal. It's a myth, but
I
it's
love that
beautiful.
though. We can find messages in everything. And I
Yes.
suppose the more it connects to our inner child, the more fun it is, the more playful it is. And I
Yes.
believe there are messages in everything.
Oh, absolutely. But it just this present image, yeah, it was so beautiful. The old man, he's old and tired, and he doesn't want to do this, but he finds the energy with the
Mhm,
staff. It is time, and he says it very slowly. It is time,
mhm,
and you can hear the earth river, the earth, well, the land. And I'm not sure if it was on Earth, could be somewhere else. The
mhm,
land reverberating as these old people that have been for so long oppressed coming out and pushing the evil away. I can't remember exactly how they pushed the evil away because that's immaterial. But what I remember is when the shard is inserted into the dark crystal, and oh my goodness, there's just light. Yeah.
I must link it in the show notes, as well as your website and information for people to find you and to read your articles, because I imagine they're very interesting. And where can we find you, Fernanda?
Okay. So my website is Azurlis, like Azuli, and then .co.nz. But
Mhm.
if someone makes a mistake and they do azuli.com, it's okay. I've got that domain as well. It's pointing to the Azuli, so it will get to me.
I'll make
And
sure that it's linked well as well.
so, um, and I'm really open to people just contacting me
Mhm,
because they want to know something about skincare. Look, it's very unrealistic to think that people in Europe would buy skincare from New Zealand. It's a bit crazy because it doesn't work well. Apart from which, any product arriving in the EU, even if it's a gift, there's a tax that customs imposes, which is so silly, but that's the way it is. So it's much more efficient if people buy from brands that are available locally, and they're many, but I'm quite willing for people to email me and ask specific questions on what they're using and what types of ingredients should they watch out for,
mhm,
in case they are hazardous or in case they don't know whether they are or not. There's a lot of information on the internet, but there's also a lot of confusion. So I'm
mhm.
quite happy for people to email me and then just have that connection. It's my gift to
Aw.
people connecting. And I can even say, well, I see where you are, whether you are in the UK or Spain or France or Portugal. Equivalent brands would be XYZ. So I'm quite happy to do that because it's too hard to see how anyone can buy from New Zealand, and that was not the purpose at all. I really wanted to speak to people, for people to hear a message of valuing themselves. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Honor yourself.
Mhm,
You're here on this earth for a period of time.
mhm.
So be grateful, be calm, be kind, make love to your skin. Um, just be honest, but don't tell people they look terrible. That's
Fill up their glass. Don't empty it all to the bottom.
yeah, yeah. you know, it, just yeah. And the other thing is that in the long run, what I see myself doing, it's rather talking to people like we're talking now. I'm really happy to go on fora and just talk to people, to stimulate people, to do something about themselves. I think that's where I see myself going in the long run, not so much having a skincare company. It's been a vehicle. I, I can make skincare products falling asleep, that, but geographically, we can't say push me. Oh no, how does it go? Beam me up, Scotty, and the product here turns up on the other side. No, we can't do that. But if I can educate people to be much more realistic as to what skincare can do for you, I'm very happy to do it. Even with things like I often get people talking about, oh, what about Botox? Botox makes you feel so much better. Well, just remember what Botox is doing, it's paralyzing your muscles. So the reason why your frown, your glabella, or your wrinkles on your forehead disappear is because the muscles are not contracting. And if they're not contracting, the skin is not being pushed, one way and the other way. It's not doing anything for your skin. So, okay, have Botox so you don't have the glabellar lines like you want to get rid of. But then make sure that you put some good moisturizer on your skin.
Mhm.
And by the way, people ask me, is olive oil good for your skin? Look, olive oil is fantastic on salads and on pizzas, on stews, on food. It's not, it's good on your skin as well, but it won't smell that good on your skin.
Yes.
So it's probably if you're absolutely desperate that you want to use some oil that is good without having that heady olive oil nose, rather choose something like macadamia oil
Mhm.
or even coconut oil. Excellent oils that are very compatible with the fatty acids on our skin. So they will help the barrier. So this is if people want to be absolutely natural. But
Mhm.
olive oil, I would eat it rather than
Because of
and
course, the what you eat is also what's going to show up on your skin. So olive oil
absolutely
inside, coconut outside.
outside, yes, or macadamia oil. And that's exactly it. Because it takes time for skin cells to regenerate, even if you start today, I'm going to change the way in which I look after my skin. I make sure I put a cream that doesn't have any hazardous ingredients. It will have to have a preservative, otherwise they'll go off.
Mhm.
um, and has good nourishment for my skin from the outside. But I'm going to have a good balanced diet with vegetables and fruits, um, protein, carbohydrates, in a balanced way.
Mhm.
It will take between 4 and 5 weeks for changes to happen on the surface of the skin.
Mhm.
And that is because obviously the nutrients have to be digested, but also the newly formed cells, which are at the bottom of the epidermis, take 4 weeks to come to the top. So you
Mhm.
are assuming that what you're eating now, that is a good diet, is permeating through your circulatory system, going everywhere where it needs to go in sufficient quantities, regularly.
Mhm.
Um, but you need to give it time. And by the way, eating 10 times as much or using 10 times as much product is not going to help at all,
Mhm.
because our organisms, our sort of metabolism is designed at a particular rate, and we don't know what that rate is. So we can only consume and metabolize food at a certain rate to get to where it needs to go. And
Mhm.
likewise, the skin uptakes products at a particular rate, which depends on many things: your age, um, uh, your genes, how you expose yourself to the environment. So you're never going to be able to force things in. Rather, make love to your skin gently, and then allow the product to absorb. And instead of using a teaspoon or a tablespoon of product, think of a orange pip size amount of product. Apply and gently see how it spreads.
Mhm.
Normally, naturally based products will have what is called very large coverage.
Mhm.
So you and that's good because it's providing that first protective layer. If it's absorbing quickly, it means that obviously the skin is needy because
Mhm,
it hasn't been looked after. So apply another layer.
mhm.
Oh, but I only have 2 minutes.
Well, that's, I suppose, little baby steps at a time and add in a few.
Baby steps.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
appreciate all of this enriching knowledge. It's been such a mind opener, and I love your holistic approach. I really do.
And I love your openness to anything that encompasses
Mhm,
the well-being of the being, as the person,
mhm.
um, the environment, the mindset. That is so important. And it's very interesting because you must be an old soul.
You're not the first one to say that.
Ah, yeah, you must be an old soul.
Mhm.
And although you look so incredibly young and you're just so the epitome of youth in the most incredible sense, there's an old soul in there. And that is such a gift. And for me, it's a gift to talk to someone. I don't think at your age I had the insights that you have. That's amazing.
Thank you. I also think I think as a world and globally, I think that we're all, I suppose, waking up and opening our minds more to
Hmm.
different things. Not just me, but I think everybody on some level is
Some
opening
level,
up their
yeah.
minds to accepting and listening, like you said, and listening to things that they didn't usually listen before. I'm
Yeah.
usually open to anything that is related to going within and taking time for self-care, be it skincare or a morning routine or taking time out in the bathroom, anything
Yes, yes, yeah.
to go
Yeah,
with.
no, just, but they're all simple things that we don't have to make life complicated.
No.
We don't have to take time away. And the other thing that for me is so important that people get the fact that we say we don't have time to do this, we've already wasted time saying that we don't have time to do blah. So take a leaf of someone's book that doesn't know the word no.
Mhm,
I'm doing this. Will it be perfect the first time, first 5 times? Probably not.
mhm,
But you get better. And like with everything in life, practice makes perfect. The first time you bake your first cake probably was a flop. If it wasn't a flop, you're very lucky. But most people will end up with something that doesn't look so presentable. You know what I mean?
totally.
It's quite all right. It's quite all right. And that's what we hear for that element. It's a shared energy. So it's like we're part of this energy continuum, which we do not understand. And I certainly don't, although I can see the visual representations, but we share and we feel. And so if you imagine our whole universe as a sort of like a breathing heart, it's breathing, it's in and out, it's breathing in and out.
Totally.
And
As
it's
one.
as one, it is one.
Mhm,
It is regardless of language or color or culture. It is one. And sometimes you don't have to speak someone's language. You can just smile. And I think most people understand. Even animals understand smiles.
they do. Have you ever? And of course, animals have their own little smiles too. Have you ever seen a little dog smiling?
Yes, yes. And and have you seen when the cats are totally just sort of like, this is bliss. And
Yeah.
you just scratching their heads or just behind the ear. And you can they've the shape of their mouth changes.
It
And
does.
dogs do the same. They do. So, they might not smile like us, but they have the smile energy.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's good. If you have nothing to give someone, give them a smile.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Fernanda, for coming on to the episode today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, Sarah, you've been a fantastic host. Very oh, you're just so open, but also I can see from the podcasts that you've done, you are so exploring the world that's out there, which I think is so valuable, that goes beyond time points in life. But I also can see it now because of your soul. You are an old soul. Mm.
And I can imagine yours is too, with your endless knowledge and your just understanding of, you have a deep understanding about why we're here, really, deep down beneath it all.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes,
Mhm.
um, there is a, oh, in fact, uh, hang on a minute. There's an author. He's a Brazilian author.
Mhm.
Um, he wrote, but there's a specific book that I want to think. So he wrote, um, The Alchemist. Right.
Oh
So
yeah, Paolo
that's
Coelho.
Paul Coelho. Yeah. Just for thank you, because I couldn't
He's
think of his name.
Portuguese, actually, isn't he?
He's Brazilian.
Oh, he's brilliant. It's Brazilian, sorry. Yeah.
Brazilian. But I'll tell you a little story about him, and that's how The Alchemist came to be written, and he wrote the Camino de Santiago as well,
Mhm.
in the pilgrimage of Camino de Santiago. So he used to be quite a highfalutin records publishing manager in Rio, and he used to flit between Rio and Miami. So this
Mhm.
was way back in the 70s. And then one day he was made redundant. No explanation. He was fired. He was just sort of like everything, didn't want to do anything to him or with him. So then he tried for about 3 or 4 years to find another position to get into the record industry.
Mhm.
Everything was shut. And he, of course, now this is working in his head big time. Can you imagine, for a man in the 70s? It's not so good. And so he went through this process where he did the Camino Santiago, and he started writing what he felt, and he becomes a well-known, a globally known writer. And he writes about all sorts of topics, largely transformation, personal, and there's a lot of allegorical mention sort of concepts in his books. But one of them is quite interesting. So he's got a book. The title of the book is called Brida, or maybe in English you read Brida. I read it in Portuguese, Brida. And Brida is a young woman, a young Irish woman who wants to be a witch,
Mhm.
and she manages. That's the very last sentence of the book. And she
Amazing.
managed. But so the book goes through and that's not a witch with a big hat. And,
Yeah.
I don't mean that type of
It would be
witch.
like we would say an earth lady.
And yes, exactly, exactly. But I mean, but for her, it was the concept of the witch, and that, a bruxa, there's the bruxa. And it's quite interesting. I've read this when I was already in New Zealand, and there were all sorts of things going through my life that needed sorting. And I thought, oh, isn't it amazing? Because she worked small steps, and she did all sorts of practices, and she changed a whole lot of things in her life. And one the last scene, she's just dancing in the forest because she now has, and that's the last sentence. She wanted to be a witch, and she has.
Amazing. And isn't that just
And so,
lovely?
yeah, it is just transformation, but you have to work. So she did go through a little bit of
Mhm.
um, trouble and tribulation, but
Yeah,
she did.
she did it. And she did it. Doesn't matter when it happened, but it happened. Yeah,
No,
it's never
no.
too
So
late.
there's yeah, exactly. And there's no temporal concept or how long it took or when it happened, because it's about the transformation, the small steps, and
Mhm,
sometimes doing things that didn't go quite so well. But he describes it so well because he himself had to become a witch, so to speak. He had to go through the process of
mhm,
having been a big records company manager or
mhm,
owner, whatever. Well, he wasn't an owner. He worked for a big firm in Miami,
mhm,
um, and being made felt like dust overnight, just
mhm.
overnight.
He completely shed his whole life.
Oh, he did, but
Yeah.
with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, because it took him about 3 or 4 years to actually work through. And he didn't say that, but I imagine potentially he went through counseling as well, because I mean, how do you handle that?
Yeah,
You cease to exist in the industry. No one wants to have anything to do with you.
it is quite soul, can be soul
It's
destroying.
soul destroying. So he had to build his soul again.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing. I must link that in the notes as well because it sounds like a really interesting book and
It
probably
is.
very relevant for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. But they're all allegorical and allegorical concepts.
Mhm.
So it's not like Brida became a witch, with a hat and black thing and warts on the side and hair sticking out. No, no, no.
Yeah. It was more of her connecting and aligning with.
In aligning with the ability to change, to transform, so
Mhm.
she could see beyond what was in front of her nose.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's sort of
Yeah.
it's what you see beyond. I've always found that so illuminating, literally enlightening, illuminating. But
Mhm.
he's very good with all his writings. And interestingly, in Brazil, the authors that are considered the classical authors don't like him because they say he's a popular author. Well,
Interesting.
interesting, isn't it? So he's
Yeah.
not it's not as if he's a Booker's Prize winner, and no, no, he's not. But he's sold millions of books because
Mhm.
he's resonating with
Mhm.
what people are missing, with
Yeah.
what they are needing. Yeah. So
Yes. And
Paul Coelho.
sparking transformation. Paulo Coelho.
Paul
Mhm.
Coelho. And just for your information, Coelho is rabbit. So it's Paul Rabbit, Paul
Oh, really?
Rabbit.
That's good to know.
It's a very Portuguese name, Coelho, Paulo
Oh,
Rabbit.
amazing. Thank you so much for all of the recommendations. You've been such a field of knowledge. I really appreciate
Oh,
it, Fernanda.
thank you, Sarah. That'd be fantastic.
Have a lovely day and
Thank
hopefully
you.
keep in touch.
Yes, no, no, we will keep in touch, definitely.
Definitely. Thank you so much,
Thank you very
Fernanda.
much, Sarah. You're fantastic. Have a lovely rest of the week as well.
Thank you. Bye bye.